Well, good evening, everyone. I believe in starting on time because time is a commodity that once it's expended, you can't get it back. I want to just say greetings. My name is Roscoe D. Cooper III, and I have the precious privilege of serving in the capacity of the Fairfield District Board of Supervisor representative. I've been on the job for 2.5 months. We had budget hearings this week, and you'll be very proud of your budget, $1.2 billion. Come on, that's right. Clap for that. And some phenomenal things. Please check the budget out. I don't have copies with me in person physical. But we've been in budget from 8 to 5, hearing from every single department in the county of Henrico. And so our media team, who are from communications, literally said to me, "You plan this on budget week." But I wanted to get out in the community as quick as I can. So again, I'm Roscoe D. Cooper III. I am proud and privileged to be your Fairfield representative. And we are in person today as well as online. We want to thank those who have decided to join us online. We're grateful for your presence here today. If you're online and would like to ask a question during this meeting, please use the chat feature. Send a message to the host and they will share the question with me. For those of you in the audience, we ask that you raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you to answer your question. First of all, I'll acknowledge our elected officials. Do I have any? Stand up if you could. With us. I think I saw, hey, look in the back, that's your delegate, Destiny Bolin. And I will invite Destiny to come and to share with us. She's been in session. How long were you on in session? Is it over? Come on real quick. Come on. Hurry up. Don't walk. Take your time. Don't run. Amen.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. So glad to see you all. So many familiar faces. Hi. I am Destiny Levere Bowling. I am the delegate that represents the 80th House District, which encompasses a big portion of Fairfield District, plus a few precincts in Brooklyn. So I'm sure all of you probably live in the district and may or may not have voted for me, and I thank you for that. We did, in fact, just get out of the General Assembly session. It was a long session of 60 days, which doesn't sound like a lot of time because it is not a lot of time. We had over 4,000 pieces of legislation that we went through, voted on, and we're currently out of session because we've sent all of our bills that we passed to the governor's desk. And so I'm fortunate enough to have one of my bills. He's already signed into law, but I'm also so unfortunate that he's also vetoed one of my other bills. But that's okay because we're going back into reconvene session on April 17th. Which is where we will reconsider the budget. He'll have some amendments, or he may veto the state's budget, which will pose some problems. And so we'll see where we land. And I don't want to take up too much time because I will be having a town hall as well. And we'll make sure that everyone in the nation.
Thank you so much, Destiny. So how many of you all, this is your first time in this facility? So just raise your hand. Welcome to your new $50 million facility. I was honored by the voters of Henrico to serve on the school board for the last 8 years. And every graduation up to this point, the high school seniors has been at the Siegel Center. This will be the first class, and this point in perpetuity, all of our graduates and graduation will be taking place here. So we're excited. Come on, give a hand for that. Fairfield has a population of 72,979 residents. The county itself has a population of 345,734 as of today. As I was walking into the building tonight, I ran up to a constituent who said she, number one, never have been to one of the constituent meetings in Fairfield, number one. And number two, she's never been in this building. The purpose for us being here tonight is that because we are 244 square miles of a county, 34 miles for Fairfield, I thought it would be right for us to make sure that every corner of Fairfield gets visited to have these forums. So we will have 3 more forums, June the 20th at 6:30 at the Fairfield Area Library, September 19th at 6:30 at the Belmont Recreation Center, and then last this year, December 5th at 6:30 at the Powell Headquarters Building in Central Gardens. So we're going to go west to east, west back to east. Before I continue, I want our state senator just to come greet us. Senator Lamont Bagby just walked in. Come on, Senator Bagby, real quick. Just come greet us.
I was coming as a spectator. But I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say hello to everyone. Thank you all for coming and participating. As you all know, we just finished up with session, but we're still going at it because we haven't yet agreed upon a budget, and we're trying to figure out what the governor is going to do with our budget, whether he's going to veto the entire budget or if he's going to do line items vetoes as most governors do. There's a lot that's still out there, whether we move forward with the Northern Virginia arena, what happens with marijuana, what happens with grade machines. There are a number of things that are still out there that are in the budget. But our priority remains raising the minimum wage, which is in the budget and pass the legislature. Making sure that we not only fund our K-12 education, but also fund our higher education, including our HBCU. We have a lot associated with mental health. And so we're hoping that the governor does the right thing. He signs those pieces of legislation. I can recall when I was on the school board and working on the local level, we were waiting a couple times when the budget wasn't ready July 1. And that's going to hold these folks up. And I know they've been working all week on the budget. And we want to make sure that they are prepared so that July 1, they'll hit the ground running and fully fund our public schools, our roads, our healthcare system, all those essential resources that I know you all depend upon. So thank you all for letting me say hello. Participate tonight.
Thank you so much, Senator Bagley. We're happy tonight to have with us the director of our planning department, the personage of Mr. Joe Emerson. He's going to come to us right now to give us an update as Fairfield residents on our community development. Can we give Mr. Emerson a hand as he comes?
Thank you. We're happy to be here this evening to tell you a little bit about what's going on in Fairfield. And honestly, Fairfield's very, very busy these days. But before I get into the specific projects, I want to give you just a quick overview of the development process that we have in Henrico. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but just to give you a quick overview, when new development comes into the county and comes to the planning department, we take a look at it and evaluate its consistency with the comprehensive plan. And of course, that's very important that it's consistent with the plan. Our current plan is the 2026 plan, and I'll speak to the update near the end of my presentation. But we look at its consistency with the plan, we look at the surrounding development, we try to determine how to mitigate any potential impacts, we consider development trends in the area. And once we do that, we prepare a staff report that goes to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors for their consideration. Included in that, if you haven't been involved in a lot of this, and many times you won't be until a development comes in next to you. The board is always very clear with the development community that they want community meetings because your input in the process is extremely important. So before it even gets to the point of coming to the Planning Commission, the board requests the developers to hold at least one community meeting prior to the public hearing that occurs at the Planning Commission. And then, of course, the Planning Commission holds a public hearing, takes your input into consideration, makes a recommendation to the board, and then the board does the same thing again prior to making a final decision. So there's a lot involved in this process, and your voice is always very important. After it's rezoned, you get, and that's what I refer to as the entitlement. The applicant submits detailed plans, which Planning Department routes to all the different agencies in the county for review. The fire department, the police department, public works, public utilities. We call this the plan of development phase. And that's where the actual detailed engineering of the project takes place. Once the plan of development is completed, the next step, of course, is for the developer to pull building permits. Then they have to submit building plans, which are also reviewed again. And then there are inspectors that visit the site on almost a daily basis, making sure that that project is built to the specifications that the board has requested to be built to prior to any final certificate of occupancies are are released for that project. Now, the projects in Fairfield are very exciting. And again, you've got quite a bit going on. I commented to the board during the budget presentation that a lot of the development in Henrico County has packed its bags. It's moved from the western part of the county. It's come over to Fairfield and from Rhina because the county is built and it's moving eastward. One of the first projects I think you've heard a lot about that I'll just briefly go over with you. It's a planned eco district. It's called Green City. It's on the former Best Products site, which I think many of you are familiar with. It's located between East Parham Road and the southeast line of Scott Road and Interstate 295. The request that has been approved there was to remodel the existing Best Products building, construct new office, retail, service, residential units, and a 17,000-seat arena. A maximum of 2,138 residential units. They're a mixture of apartments, condominiums, and townhouses and single-family homes are to be constructed on this site. Now, currently, only the northern part has gone through some of the plan of development and subdivision phases of this project, and that's what we refer to really as the Scott Farm portion of the property, or what I refer to it as. So that currently is at the plan of development phase. And we have not had plans submitted yet on the southern part. Along with that comes Magellan Parkway with a new overpass over 95, which Mr. Ura with Public Works may touch on after I finish up here. But we've got a whole new road coming across. Scott Bridge is going away. As you know, it's been hit multiple times by trucks. So this is going to assure better passage back and forth for this area and a new artery for the area in terms of transportation. At the entrance at Park Central Drive, it's escaping me. But it's right there at Park Central. There are two industrial parks there, but this is the first one as you come east from the Best Products site. We had an office that had been approved there. We had a developer that wanted to put in some office service uses, which is kind of a mixture of an office. It may have an office front. You might have a plumber. You might have a windshield expert for automobiles want to locate there. So those buildings have now been approved. They have gone through plan of development, and hopefully those will begin to develop soon. But that was an O2 to an M1C for light industrial and retail sales. Next project is the Retreat at 1, which I'm sure many of you have seen coming out of the ground. It's there at Route 1 where the old DMV office was located, Telegraph Road. This is a residential development with 496 dwelling units, comprising a mixture of townhomes, condominiums, and villas on 65 acres. Again, it's located on Telegraph Road and Scott Road, west of 95. This will also be served by the new Magellan Parkway. We have a redevelopment project directly across Route 1 from this development. It's the Brook Road Knights Inn Apartments. It was the former Knights Inn Hotel, and that is a 13.5-acre site. You have 310 units going into that site. 36 are townhouse style apartments. That's what we call a build for rent now. I used to refer to them as just townhouse style apartments. Now the industry refers to them as build to rent because many people prefer something that's more like a home, which a townhome is, but yet they like the convenience of renting versus owning. So we like that mixture, and we feel that is helping bring the area back to its old standards with new development. We do have a Feedmore project in Villa Park, and this is a new warehouse for Feedmore to distribute their food aid and food products from. It will come in here, it'll be assembled, it'll be prepared, and then it'll be distributed out to the community. This is a very needed service, and we were really happy to be able to work with them and accommodate them. They moved to us from out of the city. It's a two-story, 124,335 square foot building, and that includes administration, warehousing for food, and commercial kitchens. That's going to be very active, and it's a great asset for the community. We have a new Amazon warehouse on one of the former parking lots at the Richmond Raceway. It's 2,600,000 square feet of automated warehouse distribution. And that is a state-of-the-art facility. They're going to cut the ribbon on it. It's already CO'd and it's in operation, but they're going to cut the ribbon on it on Monday. So that's very exciting. That's creating quite a few jobs for the area. And it was a big investment, and just having that in the community is a big plus. That building, I'd be afraid to say, I don't know that off the top of my head, Reverend Cooper. I can get that to you, but I don't know that off the top of my head. The next project is a residential project. It's right at Woodman and Mountain in 295. And it was a former greenhouse site. It was rezoned for 50 single-family lots. They're currently under construction. So there's activity on that site. So this is a very exciting project. This is a redevelopment project. It's a multifamily development with 186 units. It's on the former Days Inn site on Chamberlain. And it has solar power involved in it. It had an empty field next door. They included solar panels. Those solar panels actually generate energy that will offset the cost for the residents in this apartment complex of their energy. So we were pretty excited about that. It is a 4-story building, and it also has a 3-story building next door. 4-story building's 144 units. The 3-story building is 42 units. Another exciting redevelopment project in the area. This is the old Henrico Plaza Shopping Center, and it's a mixed-use redevelopment. And it includes 465 apartment units, 108 residential townhomes for sale. So it does have ownership product in it. And of course, it also contains some retail as well. So it's a nice mixed-use project, a redevelopment of a site that had sat vacant for a long time. The old shopping center sat empty for a long time, and it was finally taken down. Then the site sat somewhat dormant for quite a while. So this is exciting movement and activity on the Mechanicsville Turnpike. Bringing us to the area we are tonight, which is really somewhat the epicenter. We've got Green City in this area. We've got what's going on at the Retreat at 1. We've got Virginia Center Commons. Here at Virginia Center Commons, we've got quite a bit of activity. We've got apartments, we've got townhomes, we've got condominiums, we've got hotels, we've got retail. Currently, some are under construction, but under construction and approved units at this point, you've got 991 units. And again, they're a mixture of townhomes, condos, and apartments. So this is a great redevelopment project of this former mall site, which was once very active, and we're bringing it back to life. We also have the non-residential components of this site. Again, this building, as Reverend Cooper mentioned, the sports complex is a great effort on the part of the county. It is a 184,938 square foot athletic event building. And of course, it contains multiple uses, including the room you're in tonight. It's a beautiful facility. If you hadn't been in it, I'd encourage you to walk around in it while you're here, because it's just such a positive for the county. And it has spurred all this redevelopment that we're seeing of this site. As far as other non-residential uses, we've got a Raising Cane's restaurant going into the former Shoney's site. We've got an IHOP restaurant going into the old Applebee's. You've got 2 hotels that are currently breaking ground in front of this facility, and a new restaurant that will come with that development as well. So there's quite a bit of activity in this area. Some of the residential developments also across the ring road next to the office buildings, which would be in front of this building and then across the ring road. You also have some activity that I don't have in this slideshow that's occurring a little bit further down Jeb Stewart on the former Sauer property, and that will be a townhome community and some research and design facilities that sites are being prepared for to be marketed by the economic development A little bit further away from us on Chamberlain Road, there at Chamberlain, Azalea, and Wilmer, you've got a proposed townhouse development that has 86 lots in 2- and 3-story buildings. So that's R6 zone property, and that property had sat vacant for a while, but we're excited to see some activity and some new homes available for people there. You have the Glens at Scott Place. Again, this is going back to Route 1 in our same general area as we're in here now, close to the Street at 1, and of course, close to Green City. We have 116 townhome development located on Scott Road. That, of course, is between 95 and East Parham. Moving a little bit further away, we've got a proposed plan to replace an existing 1-story storage building with a 3-story, 10,978 square foot storage building. So that's taking down some of the older storage facilities and redeveloping them into much nicer life storage building than the former just elongated 1-story buildings. So that's more improvement that's happening in the area. Of course, that's near the former Walmart grocery site. You have some more townhomes coming into Rivermill with very dynamic development. And again, is activity in this area. That's 82 3-story townhomes. That's located south of Woodman Road. And it is a part of this VCC area. Moving near St. Joseph's Villa, we've got a proposed development that includes 1 3-story, 36-unit apartment building and 2 3-story, 24-unit apartments for a total of 84 units with a 2,972 square foot 1-story clubhouse and maintenance building. And you can see the clearing activity. You can see it in this photo. And of course, I'm sure that many of you have been by that site. Now moving just quickly on, I don't want to take up too much time. You hear from everybody else. I'm going to just quickly plug our comprehensive plan. We're currently in the midst of updating our plan, which is very important. Our 2026 plan was adopted in 2009. This is going to be the 2045 plan. We're going to be working on it hard through the summer, but we have been diligently working on background information for quite some time on this plan. And we have quite a bit on our website now. There's an interactive map there. You can go to that website and you can look at that map. You can read the information that's there. You can log your thoughts directly into that map. We're collecting those for the process. We will be posting draft chapters sometime within the next probably 4 months on that site for your review. This is the future of your county. We need your thoughts on it. Many of you, if you were involved before, probably remember we did come out into the community once we had completed the future land use maps and met with you. We're going to do that again. That'll probably be more towards the end of the summer, beginning of fall, after I've had an opportunity to work with the commission and the board on those maps and do some modeling work. We try to balance the land uses in the county. So we have this 65-35 residential to non-residential base, which helps keep you financially balanced so your budget works for the board when they sit down to work on that as they have been doing this week. Again, I encourage you to visit the project website. They're also, again, on the site are videos, existing condition reports, things of that nature. And with that, if you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to try and answer them. If you don't, I believe Mr. Ure is following me, if I'm correct, Victoria. Where the schools will actually, as you move east, we have quite a bit of capacity in the schools. There is a new school that was included in the bond referendum for this particular area near Rivermill. And we do have a site already purchased for that elementary school. So. Yes, sir. Well, what we do, we have a portion of the comprehensive plan that deals completely with transportation. We have our major thoroughfare plan, which also deals strictly with the transportation piece. That is modeled based on the land uses and the traffic that it generates. I work very closely with Mr. Ure, who is going to follow me. We put together that document we did for the 2026 plan. We'll do that as well for the 2045 plan. And then as development comes in, we require the development community to make those improvements that are necessary. And we acquire the right of way in places where we may not have development activity, but we know that we're going to have to make those improvements based on that plan to avoid any traffic congestion. Also, with each development application, if it yields, I believe, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, in excess of what we think would be 4,000 trips per day, or if it has some other particular issue or concern that we have, we require the developer to create a traffic impact analysis, and that's reviewed by our traffic engineers, and in many cases also be done. Yes, sir, that's involved in the rezoning process, so you get to see those results from that traffic impact analysis as the development project moves through the process. The Planning Commission has that, and the board has that information as they make their decisions. And then with the overall comprehensive plan and the major thoroughfare plan, that'll be included as we come out into the public for you to see that. And it'll also be posted on our website. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, they'll be able to connect into the Magellan extension that will come across 295 and 95. Todd will be able to answer that better than I can, but that's 95. It'll come across 95, and that replaces the Scott Road Bridge. So they'll be able to head north and connect with Magellan and come back across. So that'll take the place of the Scott Road Bridge. Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking a question about, I saw an article, citizen recently that was having to look problems in flood areas, floodplains, and possibly buy flood insurance. Speak to the severe drainage area.
That's a public works issue, and I think Mr. Ure may be prepared for that. So he's the appropriate person to ask that question to. He's going to follow me, and I'm sure he'll be more than able to answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
Site that I've been asked for the last 8 years at Aberdeen.
Yes, ma'am. I'm aware of your request on that. Again, that's a question for Mr. Ure with Public Works. He can answer. So I'll just kind of move that along. Yes, ma'am, I know you have. And Mr. Ure, I'm sure, has an answer. Thank you. I'll be here through the end of the meeting. If you have anything else, I can help.
We thank Mr. Thank you so much, Mr. Emerson, our Director of Planning. We're going to bring to the podium now to give us an update. I hope he's prepared to tell about the exciting news of our Fall Line Trail that's going to connect from Petersburg all the way to Hanover, with the major portion coming through Henrico County, the Fairfield District, as well as sidewalk and pedestrian improvement projects. We are very serious about pedestrian safety, and give an update. He is the Assistant Director of Public Works. Come on, let's welcome Mr. Ure today.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Based on the question, we skip the presentation and go to questions. I'm excited to be here. I think it's probably safe to say that we have more infrastructure projects going on in Fairfield right now than the other district in the county. So obviously, based on time, I'm not going to be able to cover everything we have going on. I'll hit some high points and in particular talk about the fall line. First off, the free stuff. So in the back, we have a box. Beth is holding up safety vests that, in partnership with police. We have a WOA campaign, which stands for Watch Out Ahead, Henrico. Right. So I did have people from another jurisdiction say, "Can we borrow your logo?" But I think doesn't sound as good if you put a C or a R at the end of it. So they're in the backs. Feel free to grab one or two vests when you leave. They're help make you more visible when you are out walking, running, riding your bike. So feel free to grab some. They've been very popular. We've been through how many boxes, Beth? A lot. With more on the way. So feel free to grab one. Another thing that's free, we now have a newsletter that comes out monthly. The first one came out earlier this month. There'll be a updated one in mid-April. You can scan the QR code, or if you are technology challenged like many of us, see Beth in the back and she can get you signed up for the newsletter. It's Fairfield specific. If you want to know what's going on in other parts of the county, you can also sign up for the district newsletters for the other magisterial district. But that will hit some of the high points of what we have going on, including road closures, road projects, completed projects, public meetings, a lot of useful information. Real quick, I'll hit a couple of highlights of things that we finished last year. One is St. Clair Lane Sidewalk and Drainage Project down off of Mechanicsville Turnpike. Very nice project for the community. It was a long time in the works just because of some of the design complications, but we were happy to get that one completed. That one was just under $3 million. Sounds like a lot for a sidewalk, but we basically rebuilt the road, fixed a long-standing drainage problem out there. Another one that was completed last year, and Joe mentioned the new Amazon facility. So the northern section of that was completed last year. It's a 4-lane roadway with a trail most of the way on one side, which will continue up into Hanover eventually, sidewalk on the other side. We're quickly moving finally to get the southern section built. We're getting utilities cleared now, and that will go to add for construction later this year. So basically the southern section from just south of Azalea down to Laburnum will be very similar in terms of 4-lane roadway, safe turning lanes, as well as a trail on the raceway side, sidewalk on the neighborhood side. Project currently under construction, right? The district boundary between Fairfield and Verina is Creighton Road Phase 2. That's a $14.4 million project that's fixing the kind of wonky intersection where Dab's house comes in just south of Laburnum by the Wawa. So it's going to move that intersection down, straighten the road out where it went on one side of the pond before. It's now going straight. That'll have a sidewalk on both sides of the roadway. So very much needed project. So Fall Line, this is a very exciting project, 42 miles all the way from Ashland to Petersburg. So basically, if you're familiar with the Virginia Capitol Trail in eastern Henrico, this is the north-south version. But this one's actually, in many ways, a more exciting trail because it runs through a number of 7 communities. Will connect not just neighborhoods, but it'll connect places of work, places of worship, places, education, schools, parks. There's a lot of connectivity with this trail. We've already started construction on the lower end. So the little red line you see on the bottom is Bryan Park on the left. It's crossing Lakeside Avenue with a pedestrian signal running through the former Bank of America site, which the county purchased. So we're partnered with sports backers, and they're going to make that their new headquarters right at the city-county line. And we're going to have a trailhead there with restrooms and nice amenities for the community. And that ties into Spring Park, which is a little piece where you see the loop around the back there. So Spring Park is kind of hidden little treasure in the very bottom of Fairfield that will now get a lot more attention and help of the trail. Overall, this is the kind of the overall section of the trail between Ashland and Petersburg. You can see the little highlighted piece of Henrico. So we're only about 7.5 miles of the 42 miles, but we're pretty much coming out the ground first ahead of everybody else, making it a world-class trail. We'll have trailheads every couple of miles with restrooms, water fountains, shaded benches. We'll have some fitness equipment along the way. So think of it much as a linear park, but it's also a nice commuter route for people that want to walk or ride their bikes to work if they live in the area. We're also focusing on a number of spur trails to it. So one of the trails will actually be connecting to Green City, which I'll show you. One's connecting right over here to Virginia Center Commons and a number of neighborhoods along the way. So it'll be a lot of spurs. They're basically feeder trails that tie into it. So basically, this is like the north-south spine with a lot of kind of webs coming off to the side over time. Very, very exciting project. We hope to be complete with our sections by sometime late 2025, but some more will be under construction this year. So most of Lakeside will be completed by probably early 2025. VDOT is building the Chickahominy crossing up into Hanover to tie into Ashland. They're going to be breaking ground on their section later this spring. So within, I would say, 2 years, you'll be able to get from Ashland to Bryan Park without being on a roadway. You just have to cross a few roadways where we're going to make sure they're safe to cross. So mentioning the connector to Green City, so where Scott Road Bridge was, if you've been on 95 lately or been on the dead end section of Scott Road, the bridge is now gone. So we're replacing that with a pedestrian bridge that's not accessible to vehicles that will connect over via Athens over to our trailhead and Fall Line Trail right at Athens and Cleveland Street, kind of behind the Food Lion. It's about a half-mile trail, which will be completed within about 2 years. So Joe mentioned the Green City and the Magellan Parkway. So this is what's replacing this former Scott Road Bridge. This will be a 4-lane facility. It will have a trail on one side and a sidewalk for the portion of the rest. So that will connect over to Brook Road, where the old DMV was formerly located. It'll come into Brook Road right there. We'll have a traffic signal. So that will be the safe access back out to the other side of 95. And then that connects up to Scott Road. Better view of it. So Park Central kind of comes up now and Scott Road kind of winds back through the little neighborhood back there. So we'll straighten that out and widen it and put in bike pedestrian facilities. That's going to start a construction later this year. Be completed within 2 years. This is what it'll look like cross-section wise. You can see there's sidewalk on one side, trail on the other side. So going back to connected trails, coming out straight across, which is the northernmost entrance to VCC, is Magnolia Ridge Parkway, kind of up by the Publix. We are working on a project that will connect that trail over by River Mill, which then connects to Fall Line Trail, which then connects to Glover Park, all the way back over here. So within probably less than 2 years, you'll be able to walk, run, ride a bike from this facility all the way to Glover Park without doing anything other than crossing a roadway. You don't have to be on any roads. It's exciting. A couple other sidewalk projects we have under design in the district. There's several sidewalks on Laburnum that are under design, and we hope to be under construction within the next year or so. This one is connecting from Creighton Road down towards Harvey Elementary across from the Eastern Rec Center. That one's scheduled to go to construction later next year. This is a little connection up by Mechanicsville Turnpike, Ronnie Avenue, where we have a couple bus stops where people are literally having to stand in the ditch on one side of the road. So this will fix that problem, give us benches and shelters where we have room we'll wait for transit. Another one that's currently under design will be done by next year is if you've been on Dab's House Road lately, we've mostly fixed that. We fixed basically from the 90-degree curve down to the Eastern Government Center. We're now going to punch through Kingsbridge Parkway, which serves some townhouses back there. We're going to put a signal at North Burnham and have ped crossings there, and that will also connect out on Burnham. That's kind of an easy, low-hanging fruit project that I think will be very beneficial for folks in that area. So that's the end of my presentation. I will make one other plug. We're constantly looking for funding to get our projects designed and built, and we are currently applying for a $5 million, what's called a community project grant funding request, and we're submitting it to Congresswoman McClellan, Senator Kane, and Senator Warner. So hopefully in partnership, they'll give us $5 million, and what that's going to do is help VDOT fund some pedestrian crossing improvements, including out here on Route 1, where we've had 2 fatalities within the last 2 months from pedestrians crossing the street, which is totally unacceptable. We've been working with VDOT to try to get some ped crossings in for probably 5 years out there, and unsuccessfully, they just haven't had the money to do it. So we're helping them get the money so we can get that done. And we'll take Route 1 is actually a VDOT roadway. So we maintain a lot of the roads in the county. VDOT maintains many of your higher volume, higher speed roads like Brook Road, like Staples Mill Road, like Mechanical Turn. And coincidence or not, those are the roads where we have the most pedestrian fatalities. So we are kind of pushing on VDOT as hard as we can to help them get some improvements to make it safer for pedestrians, get lighting at intersections. We light all of our signalized intersections. They do not. So we're working on some pilot projects with them to try to light their intersections and put in the pedestrian crosswalks and push buttons where they don't exist now, which is fortunately too many intersections. So if anybody's interested in signing the letter of support, I'll have that in the back. So come see me after the meeting, and that will be submitted directly to our congressional delegation for support. Questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that it would start the latter part of this year. Approximately what month or months?
Good question. We're still working through the utility relocations, but even once we get through that, we have to go through the bidding process. And for a big project like that, that can take several months on a federally funded project. So if I had to pick a month, we'll probably go to ad for construction in November. But realistically, the time we award the contract to the board and get all the approvals and everything in place, probably construction starts early next year. Yes, sir.
The underground power line for the Meadowwood subdivision. Project started, but it seems to have come to a stop for some reason. Can you provide some input on that?
I'll have to check on that. I mean, once we turn a project over to Dominion to do facility relocations, we kind of, they run the schedule at that point.
And we tried to reach out to Dominion. Fortunately, successfully getting somebody to come talk.
So yeah, see me either afterwards. I'll give you my card or write down my information. I'll track it down for you.
Sure. And lastly, the flood letter. I think I meant it over here. We have some individuals in our subdivision here received that letter as well, who were initially in the floodplain.
Yeah.
Concerned that the FEMA has indicated that they're no longer in the floodplain. And give us something on that.
So that's a good thing. If you're not in the floodplain anymore, that really comes down to how FEMA modeled it. It was based on their modeling. But what that means, if you have a federal backed loan and your house, the actual structure of your house is shown to be in that floodplain, they require you to get flood insurance, which can be very expensive. It has nothing to do whether if we have a major storm, whether how high the water comes. That's really based on a model. What's reality is reality, right? So if we have a major flooding event, I know that area was hit pretty hard during Gaston, right? So if we have an event like that and then it is determined to be a federal emergency, we do qualify for federal funding. That's independent of whether you're in a floodplain or not. So it's really two separate things. So if you're in floodplain and you have to get flood insurance, you're not covered any more or any less than if you're not in a floodplain and we have a natural disaster.
And the county participates in the flood program.
Yes. In fact, they'll speak anything too much, but they'll stay tuned for a big press release next month about a partnership that we're doing to help reduce the cost of flood insurance for folks that are required to have it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Put it up here.
Okay. Drainage through this area is very, very bad. Since the development has gone in along Woodman Road, the time that it takes for my yard to dry out is just unconscionable.
So drainage is we could spend a whole nother evening on drainage, hint, hint, hint. And we'll be glad to do so. What I can say about drainage, we have more complaints in the last 4 or 5 months than we have in years, just because we've had the wettest December on record, the wettest February on record, the 9th wettest January on record, and fortunately we've been dry a little bit of March, but we have up to 2 inches of rain coming. So basically the ground is saturated. We have problems where we haven't seen problems in decades. Good question. So in the 22 bond referendum, the voters passed a $50 million bond that we're going to spread out over about 5 or 6 years to address drainage, not just right-of-way drainage, but private drainage problems. So if you have a drainage problem that you think is something we can help with, we now have money to help fix that. We only had small trickles of money before, but now we have $50 million. So that's the plan, to help people address their drainage problems where we can. We can't fix everything, but we can look at it in front. Oh, the traffic light, yes. We've worked with VDOT on that, and they still to this day don't support a traffic signal going in at Aberdeen. We do have a study underway to look at that whole corridor, including the interchange. So there will be more opportunities for that conversation going forward. But I can't tell you as I stand here tonight, there will be a signal anytime in the near future.
Thank you, Mr. Ure. Will you be sticking around? You'll be sticking around, sir. All right, so our next presenter, real excited, 30-year resident of Fairfield, our own police chief, Chief Eric English, is going to give us a public safety update. Come on, let's welcome the chief.
So good evening. So I want to, first of all, just echo what Mr. Cooper said. I'm not only coming here as your police chief, I'm coming here as a Fairfield resident for 30 years. So I certainly understand some of the things we're dealing with. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that was the last slide. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, so I just want to start off just giving you start off with our core values. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what our core values are in the police division. It's honor, professionalism, commitment, compassion, and accountability. And we try to make sure our officers are sticking to those core values. And if you don't stick to those core values, then they end up having to see me at some point in time. So we try to make sure we try to treat our citizens as best we can, treat them with dignity and respect, And that's what I expect from our officers. So what I'm going to do today is give you just a brief overview of crime in the county. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on, trends that we're seeing, and then I want to be able to address some of the concerns that people have had over the last few days, as well as correct any misinformation that may be out there. All right, so this slide just gives you an overview of total crime in the county. And it gives you a 5-year trend of what we've been seeing in the county. It gives you an average of 5 years. It kind of gives you, in 2023, it shows we had 8,101 Part 1 crimes. And when I talk about Part 1 crimes, I'm talking about the violent crimes you see listed on the left-hand side, as well as the property crimes you see listed on the left-hand side. So you're talking about homicide, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, larceny, auto thefts, and arsons. Those are the crimes that we have to report out on. And so as you can see, the 5-year trend, we were down just a little bit compared to the 5-year trend, but we had a pretty good decrease compared to 2022 last year in the county. So this gives you the overall for the county in Part 1 crime. This kind of breaks it down. This is just your violent crime statistics. So if you look on the right-hand side of the top, it breaks it down by district. So I want people to get an understanding of what it looks like in each district, but it also gives you a 5-year trend of the violent crime we've had in Henrico County. 5-year averages, we had a decrease in homicides last year. We had 30 in 2022, 24 last year. We were proud of that because 30 was the highest number of homicides we had seen in the county overall. So we've been working hard trying to address violent crime. As many of you may be aware, we've seen a really uptick in gun violence. And it's not so much the number of incidents that are occurring, but the number of rounds that we're seeing being fired in our community. So that's something we really got to address. This gives you a chart on a homicide total. Again, a 5-year average of our homicides. Again, as I mentioned, we had 24 last year. The good thing about that, I will say, of those 24 homicides, 18 of those homicides were cleared. We still have 6 open cases that we're working on. We have some good leads on a few of those. Some of them we're pretty stagnant right now in terms of leads and evidence that we have on those cases. But we are proud of the 18 that we've solved because, again, the quicker you can solve those homicides, you prevent other violent crime from occurring. Breaks it down by district as well. All right, we get into our Part 1 nonviolent crimes, and this is our property crimes. This is where we had our most success last year in property crime. We had seen a huge uptick in larcenies last year, and we had some really good successes in reducing this. So it gives you a 5-year average of your property crime. As you can see, our larcenies went down from 2022. We had 6,589 larcenies compared to 7,324 in 2022. So we had a good reduction in larcenies, and that's what really drove our nonviolent crime down last year. The things you will see, and I'll show you a map of this, is if you look at auto thefts. Auto thefts killed us last year, and it's really not a Henrico issue. It's a nationwide issue that's going on. We had 710 auto thefts last year. The majority of those were Hyundais or Kias, and that's a nationwide trend that we're seeing. I can tell you right now, leadership across the country and law enforcement is trying to push those manufacturers to do something different with their automobiles. They do not have enough mechanisms on there to keep those vehicles from being stolen so easily. And you're seeing a lot of young people steal those, and we're recovering a lot of them, but they're stealing those across the county. We've had a program where we distributed wheel locks to individuals that may own those type of vehicles to try to prevent those. And so we've given out quite a few of those, and we can still, if anybody here needs one, make sure you get with me or get with our community officer. We'll make sure you get one of those wheel locks if you have a Kia or Hyundai that you feel like may be stolen. But this just gives you the chart, and it shows you the auto theft. Like I said, 710. As you can see, the huge increase. And it breaks it down, by district where those are occurring. Burglaries, this is again, gives you a 5-year average chart on our burglaries. We had some success in reduction last year from 2022. It also breaks those burglaries down by district as well. All right, the last chart I'm going to show you is traffic crashes. It's kind of interesting, kind of piggybacking of Ms. Yuri's presentation, talking about certain roadways where you're seeing the most traffic crashes. So you can see Mechanicsville and Crump Street is one of those roads we've experienced a lot of traffic crashes last year. So this gives you some kind of indication of where we need to do some work in terms of trying to prevent traffic crashes. Again, I think the county is doing a great job when we're trying to distribute those vests, because we have seen a lot of too many pedestrian fatalities. So I do encourage people to continue to try to gather those vests, because unfortunately we see a lot of people, and I would just say this, even in my travels, they're walking roadways with dark clothing on at nighttime, and for whatever reason they feel like people can see them. And I've had some close calls, I can tell you, of people walking in the roadway. So it's just, we can do some things, I think, as a county, as a state, do some things better as far as lighting and things of that nature. But we also have to take some responsibility as well in making sure that we're not just walking in roadways, and we have a visible clothing on. Those things do help in those incidents. So this just gives you an idea of the traffic crashes that have occurred. So those are the statistical numbers that I wanted to go over. Secondly, I just wanted to address a couple things. I've been in the news far too much this week, unfortunately. But let me just address a few things. I just want to make sure clear that everybody understands our goal in public safety is to reduce crime. That's our goal every year. That's why you see the charts, because we're always comparing ourselves to year after year. Because our goals, we look at it and say, how can we get these down? When we had 30 homicides, we had to come up with a strategy. How are we going to stop these things from occurring? And again, you have to come up with a strategy. You just can't hope that it happens. And so you're never going to see me saying we're just going to have lawlessness in Henrico County. That's never going to be the case. And so I just want to make sure people are aware of that. I know some things were said, were put out. And again, I apologize to any of y'all if I wasn't clear on my messaging, but I can tell you that, we're not going to let people go in stores and just steal items and run out. That doesn't make any sense. So, what I try to get people to understand is that we do have business owners that they don't want to press charges on these crimes. And so you'll get somebody to call because they had, some washing powder stolen out of the store, and they just want you to come take a report. It might be their company policy. It might be because of insurance purposes. They just want to report. So what I was trying to say is you don't need a body, somebody to come and see a physical police officer. You can take that report over the phone. You accomplish the same thing. So you're not losing anything. So those are the things I'm talking about. I'm talking about, when your 9-year-old won't go to school and you call us. I've actually had these conversations with citizens over the last 2 days. And I asked the citizens, I said, if you had a 9-year-old and she wouldn't go to school, would you call the police? And the citizens said, yeah. I said, why? And she said, because they won't go to school. And I said, well, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to come and scare your kid to go to school? And they said, yeah. I'm like, that is not what our function is. We are supposed to build relationships with our kids. We cannot come to your house and scare your kid to go to school. That is a parenting issue. But those are the things that people feel like we should be doing as police officers. And I just want to make sure you understand this. If we can eliminate some of the things that we shouldn't be doing, that means I get to put my officers back in your communities where they need to be. They can address those speeding complaints that you have. They can address those quality of life issues that you're complaining about. Those are the things that we need to be doing. And so that's what I'm trying to look at. So I don't want anybody to get it twisted like I'm just going to let lawlessness run through Henrico County. That's never going to happen. So with that said, any questions? Okay, marijuana. So that's a huge issue for us. We do get calls about marijuana, okay? Adults Marijuana has been decriminalized, so adults can smoke marijuana within their residence. That is the law. We will get people that will call us and say, you know, my neighbor is smoking marijuana in their apartment. And we don't have a reason to go there because it's legal. And so now it's different if it's a juvenile. If you got a juvenile smoking marijuana, that's illegal. So we're going to address it. If it's against the law, we're going to address it. If you got a juvenile smoking marijuana or if you got them selling marijuana, that is different. But if you got an adult in the apartment smoking marijuana, there's really not anything we can do. And so what I don't want to do is put my officers in a position where they're going to address somebody that's doing something lawful. All they do is get mad because why are you here bothering me? Now it creates that confrontation. And then when our officers do something, then y'all looking at me like, well, why are they there to begin with? So I just want to make sure y'all understand, I don't want to put our folks in a position where we're bothering people, where they're doing something that's lawful. I get it. People don't like marijuana smell. They don't like it coming out of their house, coming in their house. I get all of that. But we can only follow what the law allows us to do. So just make sure you understand it. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I know Henrico's really worked hard on catalytic converter thefts. Can you talk a little bit about your successes there?
Wow. I'm glad you brought that up. I know y'all remember just a couple of years ago, that's all we were talking about in terms of property crime. Catalytic converters were being stolen at a record pace. We have had so much success with catalytic converters. They're still being stolen, but we don't even hardly ever talk about catalytic converters anymore. Now it's switched to auto theft. We went from, I want to say it was like 790 some catalytic converter thefts to 254 last year. Huge decrease. So we put a lot of effort into those. Legislation has played a huge role in catalytic converter thefts as well. You know, they increased the penalty. So I think that has played a huge role. But that crime in and of itself has really diminished. And so we're very, very proud of that. So I thank you for bringing it up. Mike coming.
First of all, where is recruiting? How your recruiting doing right now? And second question is, have a low end personnel.
All right, so this is everybody's charge here tonight. I need y'all to go out and recruit one person to come to Henrico Police. So this is we are. I mean, I'm just being honest. We are struggling in terms of recruitment. We're currently 65 officers down, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you know, in my position, I feel like we need everybody we can get, and it's a struggle. You know, our recruit classes have been very low. The one positive I will say is that we're starting to see applications go up, and so normally we get about 4% of the applicants that apply. That will fit the bill to be a police officer. And so we are over 400 applications right now. We're going to start another recruit class in July. So hopefully we'll have a class of at least 20 people. Our last class we started, we only had 9 people that were in that class. So we're hoping to try to increase that. When we only started a class of 9, we're really only filling the vacancies of people that are retiring. And that's not doing us any good. We need to get ahead of those. So there is a struggle, but we're working on that.
Thank you for your presentation, Chief English. You touched the nerve when I want you to sort of go into all about that. What happens next? Are they referred somewhere? What's the next step? I have a reason for saying that. I have parents or guardians in frustration and getting given advice. Well, tell a 9-year-old to go get some of it. See, so I'd like to know, what do you do? Oh, so we won't City did this past graduation when you see you get.
So again, there are other resources outside police to address that. One thing that we bring to the table is, if you look at my officers in the back, we look intimidating to a kid coming and talking to a kid to try to get them to go to school. That's the last thing we want to do is have that impression on a 9-year-old. And so I would reach out to the courts. I would reach out to social services. Those are better units to handle those type of issues. It's not law enforcement, because we get put in a position where you want us to really, and I hate to use the word, but it's somewhat like bully your kid to go to school. And that's not what we're here for. I get it. But again, it goes back to more of a parental issue. And maybe some other folks within the household that can talk to that kid to get through. But it shouldn't be the police officer that carries a gun and a taser coming and talking to your kid to try to get them to go to school. That's just my position.
I'd like to know why Henrico requires license tags on your car or truck. And you have to have license tags on your utility trailer. But if the trailer is not hooked to your car and it's stolen, it's not covered.
I don't know if I can answer that question. Where's Lamont Bagby at? Yeah. I'm not sure I can answer that question. I mean, I'm not, again, I can try to get you an answer for that. I will. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Austin Parker with Henrico County Division of Police Community Operations. I'm one of 5 officers for the Fairfield District. I do want to tell you guys, thank y'all for coming. I've seen quite a few of you have traveled across the county, which is great. I see y'all in my neighborhoods and my areas and mostly in my meetings. Again, the chief's here. You have the board of supervisors. These are great meetings. We need to show support for the county as well as these individuals. When it comes to certain issues, that's more of a community maintenance and zoning issue. It's just a maintenance and zoning issue. Everything pretty much has to have a license plate, especially if it's parked on the roadway in a neighborhood or especially on the roadway. So that's why that is an issue. Just like grass been up more than 12 inches. These things are community concerns. It may seem small to some individuals, but they are pretty large to other individuals. When we respond to some of the things as far as the children not going to school, it is a challenge. We do try to work with the parent. When we talk about it's a parenting issue or a parenting concern, it is a community concern because we do want that child in school, but we do refer to the school in a lot of cases, the school resource officers also in a lot of cases, and also what is going on within the home. I mean, we really get the reasons why the kid don't want to go to school because they didn't get a pair of Air Jordans. It kind of ties our hands when we're trying to address, clothing when there's other reasons why. When I was going to school, I was told one thing: you don't go to school to learn. You go to school to learn, not for a fashion show. That's what we always taught. It's just different these days. It is a fashion show. So we do try to address a lot of these concerns with the parent. Generally, we can't encourage the child to go to school. But again, as the chief stated, we do have other issues that we want to address, whether it's mental health or whether it's speeding or whether it's some type of crime that's going on within your community. So we're glad to be there. We're glad to be here. And if you do need us as a resource, you can call our communications. In some cases, we may not come out, but many of you reach out to me via email. As a community officer, y'all can reach us via email or even a phone call. We try to address it, but Chief did very well with getting a cell phone. We try to address it that way as well. And when we talk about crime, catalytic verdicts came up. That is one of those things. Kids is one of those things as well. We do campaign. If you see something, say something. We really mean that because that helps us. When it comes to homicides, you're absolutely right about those. But again, we do rely on the community in a lot of ways to point us in the right direction. When these things occur, it's very rare it happens in front of the police. So we rely on y'all. We rely on things that y'all can help us with. Timing is of the essence. If you hear gunshots, please call. We want to respond. When we ask y'all about descriptions, we want clothing descriptions, absolutely, so we can find them. But we also want things that they cannot change. You can take a hat off, but they may keep the shoes in. So we want shoes, black and white shoes, red shoes, things that we know they can't immediately change. They can take a blue jacket off and wear a white shirt. So we look for all of these resources. And again, the more calls that we get about a particular crime, points us in the right direction. And we do great with solving these crimes. As far as recruiting, I'm gonna be honest, every department, no matter where you are, this is a tough job. is definitely looking for police recruits. When I have neighborhood watch meetings, I bring that up to my individual, my constituents all the time. It's very important. We want great people. We need great people. So technically, we are recruiters, but you guys are as well are recruiters as well. So we do need y'all help as well. Thank you. Did anybody have any questions for me? I'll be at the rear, but yes.
Officer Park, I didn't have a particular question, but Chief, I know in Richmond, we used to do the walks or community walks. What can be done to increase the visibility and not to dime anybody out with their times? I'll come up Harvey Road and I see 3 officers huddled together in Gospel Gap, this church parking lot. But I think that they could kind of reach out into the neighborhood and make the positive reinforcement instead of that 9-year-old child when you show up. I knew Officer Stanley growing up in the county. I know Officer Parker now. Of course, you and I worked together for years. So, but we need to get those officers out of the cars, at least in my opinion, out of the cars and touch some of these communities to let them know that they are here to help as opposed to waiting until that reactive gunshot and then they show up. And I just, that's my reality of it.
So you must have been in a meeting I was in a couple of weeks ago. So I had the same concern. Matter of fact, the same location. And there was another location in the East End that I saw some of my folks huddling at other church. And so what I did was I got with the captain, or matter of fact, I got with the major that station and had him told them to address that, because I was getting calls of people just sitting and, my folks don't know, but I drive around just to confirm. I confirm. So I totally agree with you. So that's something we got to address internally. Because again, I get it. You're gonna, police officers are gonna pull up and pull beside each other, talk for a little while, but you shouldn't be sitting there for an extended period of time. There are people out in the community that need that visibility. And so that is something internally we got to continue to try to address with our folks. I get it. The job is tough. You want to take a break, but you just can't break. That's called patrol for a reason. That means you got to be moving around.
Okay, Tom.
Stay up. Stay up. Since I got you there, how you guys doing? My name is Tommy Jefferson. I work with a lot of kids, and I think that a lot of the crime that we having is from our kids who are, and I think a lot of our kids are living in what I call economic debt. They don't have jobs. They don't have things that they could do. I mean, you go to the grocery store, now it's self-checkout. Back then, when I was a kid, we had baggers and cashiers. Now we're losing those jobs, and we're basically, with those jobs that our teens would normally have to stay off the street and be busy, are going away. So we need to make sure that we have, and you hit the nail right on the head, it's a strategy to make sure that we have economical resources or other resources, but mainly economical resources, so these kids can be busy off the street, learning a skill, a trade, or something. And I was to want to know, Mr. Cooper, or do you guys have a strategy for that? Because I'm looking at the slides, and there's a lot of development for housing, but nothing for as jobs I've seen so far.
That's a great question. And I totally agree with you that, there are some issues we're dealing with our young folks and not having enough to do. On the job side, I would say this, I think there are still opportunities out there. We do internships within the county. We offer a lot of internships within the county, and we want to make sure that people get indoctrinated into county government. And so there are opportunities out there. I just don't know if people go out on the website or if it's advertised well enough, but there's opportunities for our kids to be able to gain some knowledge and be able to be marketable in the workforce. The other part of that is I don't know if people realize there's so many programs that are offered through Parks and Rec that people are just not aware of, that keeps your kids busy, but also gives them an opportunity to interact with other people, with other kids. And it gives them something to do to keep those kids' minds occupied. And I think we don't do enough of that. But there are some opportunities out there. I just don't think people are aware.
To the chief's point, we just talked on the budget about 3 programs. Come on back, Chief. That Parks and Rec, half of summer programs, after-school programs, there's more information out there. They just brought it back since the pandemic. So love to get with you on that. And Ryan Young's he's about to come up from our school board. We just dedicated 2 new career technical education centers that gives us the capacity to have 1,000 more young people to learn trades. So therefore, everybody is not going to college, and that's okay. But you should be life ready, and you should be enlisted, employed, or you should be enrolled in school. That's the goal, and we're going to work feverishly at it. Before the chief sits down, our last work session last week before these weeks of budgets, he was charged with giving us this presentation, and he'll tell you what I said. I sat in my seat for the first time getting his data as a Fairfield resident, not Fairfield Board of Supervisor. I said to him, I said, Chief, how long has Fairfield led crimes, violent and nonviolent crimes? He said to me, too long. Can I ask you that question? See? And I said to him, it is unacceptable. He looked at me, he said, Reverend Cooper, I agree, it is. Chief, real quick, I want you just, if you don't mind, share with us what you believe are some of the root causes why we as Fairfield lead nonviolent and violent crimes. And also I want you to share what we're doing to work on this to try to eradicate that.
I think you hit it on the head, a lot of what you talked about. You know, the economics in some of our areas do pose some issues. So I can tell you last year, St. Luke's has always been an issue for Henrico. I mean, long before I ever took over as chief. So what we tried to do last year, we tried to focus on St. Luke's. We said, well, that's been the epicenter of things we've had happen county. So we can curtail crime around St. Luke. We feel like we could have some inroads into some of the violent crime that we're seeing. We put a lot of resources in St. Luke. I don't think we had a homicide last year in St. Luke, which is unusual. But the problem is once you throw your resources in one area, you know, they start to spread somewhere else, you know. So I think everybody understands it displaces. And so what we started to see was that we started to see violent crime pop up in areas that normally you would never see violent crime. And so I think one of the things we really have to do is it goes back to what he said, you know, really a lot of the violent crime we're seeing is with our young people. You see a lot of young people carrying guns. They're not afraid to use guns. And I think a lot of people, you just don't say anything. Parents got to start checking rooms. I think it's critical. You know, I know we want our kids to have freedom, but ain't nothing right that kid lives in your house. I think it's time for us to make sure we're doing all our due diligence and not just taking people's word for it. As you know, we've had kids bring guns to our Roscoe County schools. We had to put some mechanisms in place to address that. And so I think it goes back to that issue. You know, again, there are some economic challenges. There are some mental health challenges that we're facing. But again, I think it goes back to the root of the issue is that we got to start with our young people, getting them in order. And then as an agency, our strategy is, we're always going to look at where crime is. We're going to look at where our most violent crime is, and we're going to navigate our resources in those particular areas. And the thing we want you all to do is we want you all to call. If you're calling about situations in your neighborhood that you feel like may be ruined, don't call till after it happens. Don't call after it happens. Call us before it happens. That way we can start looking into some things to try to rectify that. And again, things that happen in the neighborhood filter into the schools, and things that filter into schools will filter into the neighborhood. So we got to make sure we're communicating that well with one another.
Let's thank our chief for being here and giving us that. And you've been hanging around. I appreciate how he ended that. I didn't ask him to, but what he did was he segued into what's next for us, because this is an overlapping intersectionality as far as an issue. I asked members of our mental health community, our Henrico area mental health developmental services department to come out and speak to us, one about the Marcus alert, but also to share with us from their perspective what they feel we as a district need. So I'm going to ask to come, and they can come in however they have this organized with Ms. Sonia Donaldson Bates and Rhonda Carter, their clinical supervisors, emergency service program from Henrico area health and developmental services, along with Sarah Gray, who is the program manager for emergency services. Come on, let's welcome them to Fairfield.
Hello, good evening. So with mental health, of course, we've seen an increase in uptake in individuals who are needing services. And, some of the issue is that we just don't have enough people to provide the services to the individuals that are in need of help. So there's so many initiatives that are going out in order to try to help our citizens, help the clients, and try to get our communities back on track. Change is needed in our community because individuals are in need of the service. We send them, to the hospital, and the hospital just doesn't have the capacity to be able to address the needs that they've had. Sometimes people come into services, they get declined for services because of insurance reasons. Insurance isn't taken. Sometimes people come in and because of whatever they're experiencing with their mental health, they don't return. Police have traditionally gone out to do welfare checks for the individuals, and sometimes that has not turned out right. So what we're trying to do is to try to turn things around, for police to be seen in a different light, for mental health to be able to go out with police so that they can see that we're working together as an entity, that we're trying to help people, and that we're trying to get people the help that they need. So some of the national movements that they have going on is 988, which is free. It's a 24/7 line that people can call when they are in need of help, when they need to talk to somebody, when they have something that's on their mind, when they're feeling suicidal or homicidal, when they need to just kind of let somebody else help them. People are there to just kind of help them when they're in distress, to try to help prevent something from happening. So if people are thinking about something, then it's an opportunity for them to call and get some help before something kind of goes awry. And for us to have some crisis services for individuals, something that's immediate, so that if something is happening, then they can get dialed into mobile crisis services and people can respond in the moment, and not wait or try to have people come in when they may not come in. Crisis Now is a crisis call center, so it's a hub. So it's 24/7, it's mobile crisis. If people are in need, if they are in a parking lot, if they are at home, if they're at a grocery store, if they're at a friend's house, wherever it is, then mobile crisis can respond and can help them in the moment so that things kind of get taken care of. And it's not something that kind of goes on and on. And it's not something that we're just overlooking or not seeing. And then just kind of with our community health responders, we have people who have gone through training with the DBHDS so that they can have the training that they need. They can respond to crisis situations. And when people call the 988 number and they're in need of services in our community, then mobile crisis response can be sent to that individual so that they can get that help right then. So this is kind of the model for Crisis Now. A person is in crisis, they call the crisis center, a mobile crisis team responds to them wherever it is. There's a 23-hour stabilization process because not everybody has to go to the hospital. Not everybody needs inpatient psych treatment. And then there might be some short-term stabilization where people can get the help that they need. They can go to groups, they can get individual counseling, they can get connected with psychiatric services, they can get on some medication, and it doesn't have to exacerbate or get worse. A lot of what it is that we're talking about came about because of Marcus Alert. And that was Marcus David Peters, who was shot by Richmond police officers back in 2018. A lot of, some of our mental health individuals, people don't necessarily know that they have a mental illness. And so people are just kind of operating on what it is that they see in front of them. Sometimes that might lead to a tragedy, but sometimes there's some good things that can come out out of it and people can get the help that they need. So that's kind of what Virginia is moving towards, more of a continuum of care so that we can get people connected to services, get them what it is that they need in that moment. So Marcus Alert currently is in 10 areas in Virginia, and it's throughout different regions. So in the Central region, it's in the Western Virginia, it's in Madison County, it's in Warrenton and Culpeper. There are a couple of community services boards that are tied to that. In Central Virginia is Richmond and Chesterfield. In Southeast Virginia, it's Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads, Newport News area. Northern Virginia is Prince William, Fairfax Falls Church. And then in Southwest Virginia, it's Bristol and Washington, Highlands, Blue Ridge Community Services Board, Roanoke, and Salem. And this started out based on population. So how many people were in the population, that's where they started at, so that they could hit those populations, get those services together, and then move to our smaller communities. For Henrico, we are up next. We started planning last year. We submitted our plan in February 1st of this year, and we are set to begin July 1st. We have met multiple times, and representatives from different groups have been invited to attend to kind of give feedback, to let us know what it is that they've seen so that we can go ahead and kind of shape our planning and see what it is that we need to do differently. The services that we are looking to offer and implement, it just means that people can get the help and that there is no wrong way to get help. So however it is that you need help, whatever it is that you need, whether or not you call 911, whether or not you call 988, you call emergency services number, or you call the regional number, then help can get dispatched to you where you are. And so as far as Henrico is concerned with us, of course, we have emergency services and we're all there, and we're a 24-hour entity. People can call us and they do, for whatever it is that they're looking for. Sometimes people call us talking about my water got cut off. Well, we can't really do a whole lot about that. But if somebody says that they're looking for some outpatient services, or they have some SUD issues, which is substance use issues, and they're trying to get connected to services, then we can help with that. Yes, the 9-year-old who won't go to school. And so we work with a variety of different individuals in our community, such as our police officers, our sheriffs. We work with social services. We work with our schools. We're always in communication, trying to figure out how we can help not only our adults, but also our kids, because our kids are supposed to be our future. And so we have to be able to give them the services that they need, but we also have to educate some of our parents and our families, because if our kids are telling us that they're in need of help, then our families need to be okay with accepting the help that their kid is asking for, and they have to be willing to want to get that help. We can only do so much as a community, as a mental health agency. And if people aren't willing to accept the help that we have to offer, then sometimes our hands are tied. So as far as our mobile, crisis, what we're doing is we are working with our police officers. We have staff that go out now from 9 to 3, out with the police in the community. We have individuals who sometimes the police have identified as needing assistance. It might be someone who's had multiple psychiatric hospitalizations, and we follow up with them to make sure that they have what they need, make sure that they're following up with their medication to see if there's anything additional. As of next week, we're going to start having 2 teams go out with mental health and police to also see if we can offer more services to individuals. A lot of it is, sometimes there's some crisis situations that happen, but then sometimes there's some follow-up. And if people know that there are individuals who outside of their family who care or are invested in them, then hopefully they will continue the help that they need. They'll continue with the services.
So, STAR Services, Services to Aid in Recovery. This is a team of people that meet every Monday morning, and it is comprised of police, fire, adult protective services, social services, the schools, mental health, and anybody from the community who can assist. And they basically work on assisting clients in their homes. You might get a call from 911, you might get a call from a neighbor and saying that we've got an issue with this person, and the team talks about how we can assist them. We're going to go out and see them, and what are we going to do? What kind of resources are we going to make available to them?
And so just kind of going forward, along with all the services that we are putting into place, expanding our mobile crisis so that we can reach more individuals in the community. There is a 23-hour facility that will be located on St. Joseph's Phyllis campus. They had their open house on February the 29th, and they will be open soon for our youth within the next couple of weeks in order to just kind of work with our youth. It gives them an opportunity to find out what additional services it is that people need. Not everybody needs to be in the hospital. Not everybody needs to be on psychiatric medication. But it gives an extended period of time instead of the 8 hours that we normally have to figure out what needs to happen. It gives us 23 hours to figure out what needs to happen. And that way a better plan can be put in place. We're always looking at options for crisis intervention and what it is that we need to do to provide support to the individuals in our community. So hopefully more mental health and police presence will give people an opportunity to see that we are out there in order to help and that we're not trying to debilitate or hurt them in any way. And, you know, the county is always committed to trying to figure out additional things that we can do. Like the police chief said, talking about just kind of needing to have more sheriffs. Well, mental health is in the same bracket of needing to have more individuals who can help provide these services to our individuals. So again, if you have somebody and you know somebody who's looking for employment and they have the degree, please send them our way. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
She's been bouncing back and forth all week with social service, the health department, the school system. And she wants to know what to do. And a referral's already been in 3 or 4 times from mental health. Tell them to call 988.
Absolutely, they can call 98. They can also go to Henrico J&B Court to do a CHINS petition in order to get additional services in place. It's a CHINS is a child in need of services. So if a kid is in need of services, they are a juvenile, they're underage, and the caregiver is trying to figure out what it is that they can do, what it is that they need to do, then this is something that can be mandated for them to do. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for your patience. We have one more presentation, but then we have one community organization that's going to present. We're going to ask our elected official, our school board representative for the Fairfield District. I thought I saw him. He's coming in now. All right. All right, just stepped up. Come on, let's get up for Ryan Young, Fairfield School Board Rep.
Morning, everyone. Oh, afternoon, evening. Yeah, it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
All right.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. All right. All right, I'm Ryan Young. I'm school board rep for the Fairfield District. I'd just like to thank everybody else that presented before me. Chief English, I got a 9-year-old back there that don't like to go to school all the time. So you just gave her the ammo to know I can't call you guys. So I'll hear about that first thing in the morning. So, but I'm here today to share a little bit with everyone about the Henrico County Public Schools, what we have going on right now, and what we got going on, I guess, in the future. This is my 3rd month, so we're going to dive right into a couple things. HCPS has a very diverse community of learners and exceptional employees. We are the 6th largest district in Virginia. We serve 50,000 students. 139 languages are spoken across about 74 schools and centers. Recently, Henrico School was named one of America's best in-state employers by Forbes magazine as well. Now, before we dig into the highlights of Henrico Schools, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was elected to the school board in November to succeed Reverend Cooper as he transitioned to the Board of Supervisors. I'm a product of Henrico Schools and remain a proud member of the Fairfield community. In my 3 months since the campaign, my focus has remained the same. My focus is reading literacy, academic achievement, safer schools, preschool and after-school programs, and challenging norms. I believe that with me being in here now, I get to challenge, I guess, what Fairfield has been kind of experiencing throughout the years and trying to continue that legacy of where Reverend Cooper has left off on. And with that being said, when we're talking about reading literacy, this year is all about budget right now. The first 3 months is always about budget, and I'm proud to say that we have reading specialists entering every single school in Henrico County this year. So with those reading specialists, they train our teachers. They're in there, they're in the rooms with our kids, and I just think reading literacy is the foundation of all learning. And I feel like we've been falling behind a little bit in that sense coming off of COVID with that learning loss. So I'm proud to say that we do have reading specialists coming to every school in Henrico County this year. With that being said, speaking of the budget, we just met with our Board of Supervisors today. Hopefully Reverend Cooper approves everything we asked for. So I just mentioned I've been here for about 3 months, but in alignment with the division's strategic plan, Destination 2025, the fiscal year 25 recommended financial plan reflects our commitment to excellence, safety and wellness, and recruitment and retention of exemplary educators and staff. The budget proposal includes significant investments in infrastructure resources for our students and staffing and curriculum for further implementation of the Virginia Literacy Act. The Virginia Literacy Act has just been kind of approved nationwide and for our state. So right now the county is developing a brand new curriculum for our HCPS students here. So we've just had that maybe 3 weeks ago in our board meeting. So they're putting that together as we speak. Additionally, there's funding for a new Center of Innovation at Rolfe Middle School, expanded career and technical education programs, and to establish Highland Springs Elementary as an opportunity school. And I'll take a minute to explain the opportunity school. It's a stipend for all teachers. They get $3,300 to work in our hard to staff schools. It was something that Roscoe championed, or Reverend Cooper championed for all of our students. In the Fairfield District, around the district is where you'll find these opportunity schools. They're hard to staff. We find teachers coming in, working a couple years and then leaving, or teachers not wanting to come to our schools and teach. So with these opportunity schools, it provides not only $3,300 as an incentive, but it also comes with behavior staff and extra support staff in the schools as well. So it's not just about getting $3,300, but you also get extra supports to kind of uplift that school, and they're in there for about 3 years before it's reevaluated. And then moving on, remaining competitive in recruiting and retaining employees in our areas is of great importance to us, and we are pleased to support a proposed 4.8 raise, 4.8 for all HCPS employees, and an additional step increase that will bring that up to 7.2 for all of our teachers. And I just think that that's really important that we continue to recognize and pay our teachers. And I was going to get to that. And coming off a historic 8.4 last year for all employees in Henrico County. So we're seeing about a 16% increase over the last 2 years in our teacher salaries and teacher pay. The salary news comes on the heel of the March 1st increase to bus driver pay. Bus drivers are still one of the hardest positions to fill, mainly due to Uber and Uber Eats, and the demand for drivers now shifting away from being a bus driver. So our daily drivers that want to come out and they want to drive, they would rather Uber, right? They would rather work their own hours. So Henrico County had to do something. We went from $19 up to $25. Thank highest in the region. Yeah, we gotta include that. That's important. That's important. But I just think that Henrico is doing a fantastic job addressing the needs, the immediate needs, not waiting for a budget cycle. I think that was amended to do that increase. So that's important for us right now. Trying to keep it up here. All right, let's get to our ACE centers. All right, as we strive to create engaging, life-ready learning experience for our students, we are poised to expand the enrollment in career and technical education programs. We recently cut the ribbon on a renovated ACE Center at Highland Springs High School and a brand new building at Hermitage High School. With the completion of these construction projects, we have the space for an additional 800 to 1,000 students in CTE programs. And I think Reverend Cooper spoke to, not everybody wants to go to college. Right now, we have opportunities. And for my kids in the Fairfield District, these programs are countywide. But what I'm focused on is the equity about our kids getting into these programs and making sure that they have the same opportunities that everybody else has in the county. So that's on the Equity and Diversity Committee. That's what we're working on, is finding these holes that our kids aren't getting into certain programs, whether it's the gifted program or the IB program or even our specialty centers. So we're looking at that. So it's not only good that we have these options, but we also need to have the availability. So we'll be focused on having the availability and really making sure that the Fairfield District is represented in all of these specialty programs in the school. We had 2 ribbon cuttings. I went over to Highland Springs High School. It's phenomenal. They changed the gymnasium into a workshop for kids. I mean, we have masonry in there. They're building modular homes right now that they're going to ship out and actually put on lots. So our kids are actually building homes. They're wiring the buildings. They have electricity. Some of the other important programs, sports medicine, state-of-the-art culinary center, nurses aid, print shop. So all of these programs, and a lot of them offer dual enrollment. So while they're in school in Henrico County, they're also getting college credits. So a lot of our kids are graduating with associate degrees or halfway there. But once again, I want to remind you that we're trying to focus on the equity just to make sure that Fairfield District kids are also being seen in these spaces. So that's one of the things that we're really focused on. And coming off of that, I'm going to talk about Roscoe Cooper's baby right here, which is the brand new Virginia Randolph. And this will be, oh yeah, let's clap it up for that. This will be the division's 3rd ACE Center. It's housed on the campus of Virginia Randolph. So this is a great opportunity to provide you with an update on the rebuild and what's happening at AVR. The expansion to the ACE program, to the building, is underway with masonry bearing walls topped out and setting up door frames have started. The 2-story expansion of the Academy of Virginia Randolph building has started with footing complete at the south wing, and underground utility work is going on throughout the campus. As a reminder, the campus of Virginia Randolph includes an ACE Center, the Academy at Virginia Randolph, the VRC, and the PACE program, which are non-traditional programs that serve students who may not find success in traditional classroom settings. Here, students experience a smaller campus, smaller class sizes, a social-emotional support system, an individualized plan towards graduation, 12 different trade programs, credit recovery opportunities, and mentoring, all housed at Virginia Randolph. And this will be completed in fiscal year 2025. Now, once again, preschool is my baby. I also have campaigned on this, and I'm on the committee finally. And what I'm seeing is we have space for all preschool. And the barrier when we talk about getting our kids in school early is just about communication. It's hard to reach 3-year-olds because they're not in the system right now. We don't know that they exist. We don't know that they're out there. So myself, along with the communication team, are working on ways to put up posters on social media and to get advertisement out to let our young families know that they have a place for their kids to go at the age of 3 and the age of 4. As they get into this, the earlier they get involved in the school, the more successful that they will be. So if y'all got a QR code, let somebody know. We also doing registration for kindergarten right now. So that's another thing that, we need to get the word out on. And what I find that sometimes we think we have problems that we really don't. We really have a lot of programs in Henrico County, and we just don't know about it. So that's my job. That's the job that I'm tackling right now, is how do we get the communication out and the word out that these programs are available to our kids and what they need to do. One of the programs that I'm involved in right now is the equity in our gifted program. A lot of people don't know the classes that our fourth graders and fifth graders have to take in order to get into specialty centers in middle school. And a lot of our parents don't know the courses they have to take in middle school in order to be qualified for specialty centers in high school. So this is what I'm working on personally, is getting that communication out and letting parents understand that, you need to know this information, and it's my job to get it to you. I'm gonna wrap up here in a minute. We got some special announcements and special dates coming up. We'll be using this center right here for graduation this year. So we're excited about that. And the biggest thing I want to do right now is I want to invite you to consider participating in the school division strategic planning process as we vision what learning will look like beginning in 2026 and beyond. Every 5 years, we bring together students, employees, families, business partners, and education and other stakeholders to develop a 5-year strategic plan. We are coming to the end of our current strategic plan, which is 2025. I'm excited that I actually get to be involved in a strategic plan, and we need you guys involved. Y'all don't understand the emails that come in from other districts, and my email hasn't been blowing up. I need my email blown up. I need people to reach out to me. We need to come together and make sure that we have a voice and a seat at this table, and it's not just my seat, it's our seat. So we really need you guys to really want to be in the strategic plan, because this sets the course for education for the next 5 years for the county. So every committee right now, we're doing strategic planning. So I implore you, I invite you, applications to serve on the strategic planning committee are available now on the school division website. Please get involved. Please let us know what this looks like going forward. What do we want students to know and be able to do? What will we know that they are learning, and what does it mean to be life ready when they leave school? And we need to know what that means to us, to our district. So when you get a moment, please, 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 please get on these committees, get involved, let the other districts hear our voice collectively. And I will end with this. There we go. I appreciate your time and attention tonight, and I want to, of course, thank Reverend Roscoe Cooper for inviting me here. And with everybody in here collaborating, it's still amazing what can be accomplished when no one cares who gets the credit. Do you want me to take questions, or any questions? Any particular questions? Yes, sir. I know where you live. You live in my mama neighborhood. I know. I met with.
Certainly. And we had the opportunity to have the chief come speak to us last night as well. One of the concerns that we have, if we live directly across from the high school, you have some of the high school students cutting class, coming in our subdivision, smoking weed. Now, we don't want to call the chief, okay? Because if we caught them, they're already,
Apparently, they won't respond.
we don't, no.
No, I'm messing with. He did say if it was you. He did say if it was you. I heard him. I'm just.
We don't want to call the chief, because if we call the police, they're going to be arrested.
Yeah.
So what do we do to avoid this from continuing?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I was one of those kids that skipped and went through there. I didn't smoke weed, but I was one of the kids that skipped. My mom lived in that neighborhood, so. But I mean, just to get to the root cause, it still goes back to parenting. I mean, I coach youth basketball. I just found out one of our kids is using substances that he shouldn't be using, right? So immediately we talk to the kid, we talk to the parent. But I mean, I think schools, it's not impossible for them to get involved, but you can't solve anything that you don't know. These kids, it still comes back to the primary learning source of being at home. It's coming from parents on whether you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. I don't know if it's something that we can do directly, other than maybe have a security officer not let them leave school, but we're open campus. So they, at any given time, they can walk onto the campus or off of the campus. So I don't know if it's a direct thing that we can necessarily do, but I mean, we do need to look into it. I mean, it's just part about keeping our community safe and keeping drugs out of our kids' hands. So I don't have a direct answer for you today on what we can do, but I mean, I do sympathize with, still parents still have to be involved. And a lot of times they not sometimes.
How you doing?
Good.
I got a question for you. I know you're on the DEI department, and during my campaign, we did I found that was really interesting is that we pulled a government class in Deep Run versus the same government class in Henrico High School. And one of the things that I noticed that difference was the syllabus. And in the syllabus out in Deep Run, kids are allowed to take a retest. But the same kid taking the same government class that's in Henrico High School or Varana can't take a retest. And to me, I was like, that really boils down to DEI, because depending on your zip code, you get a chance to retake the same test again, get a higher score, you even get college degrees. So to me, how do you plan on addressing situations like that when it comes to DEI?
So, I mean, yeah, so that's an equity issue in my mind. That's some of the things that I'm focused on is the equity amongst our district versus other districts. I have a student at Henrico High School. I'll be the first one to tell you, he has plenty of zeros, but he does have the opportunity to make it up. I don't know if a lot of people know it, but the teachers don't really give zeros anymore. They get 50s now. So, I mean, so we have to have some accountability when it comes to our kids doing their work, but when it comes to the equity about another one of our schools in Henrico High School not doing the same thing, I mean, I just think that has to be addressed directly. I don't think it's a policy that needs to be in place. It's a conversation that needs to be had about being equitable when it's coming time for our kids to retake tests. And to be honest with you, our kids aren't doing all the work that they're supposed to do. And we need to get to the root cause of that as well. Like, I understand the retakes, but we need to get to the root cause of why they're not doing their work. Why are we only giving 50s now? And yeah, you can definitely follow up. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. I agree.
I'm in Meadowwood too, right across the street in your mother's neighborhood. And I have, my daughter attends Henrico High School, so she walks. There is a crosswalk right there, and the cars are supposed to stop when children are at the crosswalk, and she FaceTimes me every time she's walking home, and her head is going side to side, and she looks like she's about to double dutch.
Yeah.
Because the cars, they're not respecting the crosswalk. And sometimes, I mean, it's not funny, but you know, the point system, you know, if you hit somebody when they're walking, it's 10 points. If they're on a bike, it's 15. I feel like the cars are speeding up, trying to hit the students. Like, I mean, she said, Mommy, that car sped up.
Yeah. I think that's more of a board of supervisor and a police issue. I do we have flashing lights out there yet? Highlighting that crosswalk, so maybe that's something that we can. I mean, I too crossed the same streets, and it was double dutch. Yeah. So I just think that might be. Oh, okay. I'll let him speak to it. Yeah.
We'll look if we can put some flashing lights there, the kind that you push the button and then highlights the fact that cars have to stop. We still can't physically make them stop, but that tends to work better.
Oh, right.
They have to decide those classes like
You are correct. Richmond has just started putting cameras in at school zones for red light running. Probably a conversation we'll have with our board, but we don't have that option at this point.
Okay, and my second question is, with regards to Henrico High School, is there any talk about placing a gate around the school because the traffic is picked up, walking traffic is picked up?
Yeah.
It's just.
So right now, it's no talks about putting a gate around Henrico High School. I know it has been mentioned in the past to kind of secure the campus a little bit more. I think also like some sort of bushes to create like a natural barrier have been thought about as well, but there's been no conversation since then. And one more thing I would like to highlight, if you don't mind, Reverend Cooper. Reverend Cooper got to work immediately on our schools, and I don't know if you're going to mention this in your presentation or not, but Henrico High School received 138,000 for improvements. Fairfield Middle, 28,000. Arthur Ashe, 32,000. Glen Lee, 27,000. Lakeside, 10,000. Longdale, 18,000. And Ratcliffe, 30,000. I mean, can we give them a hand for getting these things approved for our schools? I mean, that's immediate infrastructure improvements that we got, I mean, within the first 90 days of him taking office and me taking office. So I just wanted to thank you publicly for doing that for our schools. Thank you guys for your time. I'll be in the back. I'm sticking around. If you got any personal questions, please feel free. Right.
When I was a school board rep, I didn't have access to money. When I got to the board of supervisors, the county manager said, I need some money to do some things in some of our schools. And he says, no problem. So I thank county manager for allowing me to ensure Henrico High School did not have a field house, which is a weight room. Weights cost $125,000. Every other high school in Henrico has a weight room other than Henrico High School. 1 month, making sure we get a weight room in Henrico High School right now. So we're really excited about that. And so each year, I'm going to be reaching out to neighborhood associations as well as our schools. What can I do for you? How can I assist you with your capital projects at your schools? Before we bring out our last speaker, I just want to say this. It's my goal to bring together every neighborhood association in the Fairfield District at least once a quarter together for us to leverage each other and to work with each other, as well as tie into the parent teacher organizations, PTAs. I want our PTAs, our neighborhood associations, for us to work together so we can speak about those issues that concern us, because our schools are in our neighborhoods. And so there has to be this collaborative effort from us to ensure that we're making a path forward for our communities as well as our schools. So please, tonight, if you are part of a neighborhood association, please sign up tonight, let me know your association, the contact person, because my staff will be reaching out on my behalf as well as myself to get us all together once a quarter for us to meet together collaboratively. Last thing I want to bring up, each meeting, each forum, going to have a community connection so we can hear from the community. So we got 5 more minutes. We're going to hear from the Henrico NAACP Environmental Justice Committee. Come on, give them a hand as they come up today.
Thank you. So my name is Beth Pradatis. Thank you so much, Supervisor Cooper, for letting me come in and talk. I'm here as part of NAACP, and there's information at the table in the back if you want to sign up and become a member of the Henrico NAACP. Specifically, I'm here to talk about the Environmental Justice Committee, which just formed as part of this branch. So there are branches of the Environmental Justice Committee and other communities, but we thought it was really important that the Henrico NAACP have an Environmental Justice Committee. And so we're here because we're interested in new members. If you're interested in joining us, we would really love your participation. Or if you want to just share your concerns about environmental issues or your hopes for environment in terms of local or state policy, we are also really interested in working with you. I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing. So according to the NAACP bylaws, the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee shall seek to address environmental inequities at the local level and advocate for environmental justice, develop a comprehensive and holistic local agenda to reduce pollution, advance energy efficiency and clean energy at the local level, and develop and advocate for climate resilient infrastructure policies and practices. And so that's like the technical language in the bylaws. Basically, our priority is to work with the community to make sure that people feel like they have access to clean air, clean water, that their local environmental issues are addressed. We really want to hear from you about anything that you're concerned about. And I think many of the issues that have come up tonight are environmental justice concerns. We talked a lot about pedestrian safety. I really think that that's an environmental justice concern. People have to be able to walk safely in order to, get out of their cars and get the exercise and be able to breathe healthy air. Also, we talked a lot about drainage and concerns about flooding and stuff like that. That's obviously also an environmental justice concern. We could probably go on, but I know it's late. If you're interested in either sharing your concerns with us or joining us, there will be like little note cards in the back, or you could just talk to me. Again, my name's Beth Pradatis, and I'm hoping to work with you all. Thanks. Oh, yeah, I'm Fairfield as well. I live in Lakeside.
Thank you, Bev. I want to say thank you to Victoria and our Public Relations Department. Can we give them a hand for doing this for us tonight? Also want to thank Senator Bagby for stopping by, for Delegate Destiny Boland, I got her name, sorry, that's all right. I know her middle name too, Levere. I got her, she's still here. Thank you so much, Madam Delegate, to our school board member, Ryan Young. Thank you for being in. Also, I want to give you my contact information. On the back table, there are cards. I'm available to contact me. I got to click it myself. Wow. So that's my cell phone number. That's my email address. You can reach me. Thank you for being there. Also, I want to just shout out our member, one of our two members on the Economic Development Authority, Mr. Robert Brown. Wave your hand. That's Mr. Robert Brown. Mr. Robert Brown is the co-owner of the Hope Pharmacy. So we're happy to have him on our EDA. So thank you all for being here tonight. Have a good evening, everybody.